Yes, sir. Good day, class. Today we want to talk about physiographic factors. We are working questions on physiographic factors, and understand right now that the question that we are answering, bro, in these physiographic factors, we are to answer questions that relate to the comprehension or to the context that is attached in the vegetation changes that is influenced because of the altitude and whatsoever. Apart from physiographic factors, what other abiotic factors influence plant growth, the issue of northwestern slopes of the mountain being drier. All these questions, let's just quickly answer them now. I'm sure we can see them right now. We are just going to quickly analyze the attacked context here. Read the article below on the effect of physiographic factors on plants. Effect of physiographic factors on plants. Mount Kenya is one of the highest mountains in Africa. I'm sure that we understand. And although it is on the equator, it is so high that its summit is permanently covered with ice and snow. The average temperatures at night -10 degrees, and during the day can be warm up to 15 degrees. Because Mount Kenya is on the equator, it gets almost the same amount of sunlight all year round. Yeah. So on Mount Kenya, different plant types grow at different altitudes. The steepness and aspect of the slope also influence the kind of plants which grow there. The lower slopes are covered with the forest of bamboo and trees like the yellowwoods. The northwestern slopes are drier. You have more savanna type woodlands, and above the forest lies a ring of plants called the heath. These include plants like ericas, which also grow in Western Cape in South Africa. But unlike the small ericas that grow in Western Cape, the ones on Mount Kenya grow up to 4 meters tall. There is rain for almost every day. At the height, at this height, higher than 3,000 meters. So that is the context that we are given here. So that is what is given. So what I want us to understand is, how do we answer questions such as this? We answer them according to the context that is given in our question paper. So at about 3,500 meters to 3,800, the vegetation changes. Name two physiographic factors which influence the growth of plants on Mount Kenya. So we are saying physiographic factors which are affecting vegetation, physiographic factors that are influencing the growth of vegetation in Mount Kenya is what we need to understand. What are those two physiographic factors that influence the vegetation in Mount Kenya? As you read, what I actually want you to understand is that sometimes it is very important to first read the questions and then read the comprehension or the context after reading the question, so therefore you can be able to relate and pick up the answers as you go. So now what is happening here is that like in this case on Mount Kenya, different plants grow at different altitudes. different plants different plants grow at different altitude. At different altitude, plants grow. The steepness of the steepness, which we can also say the slope, and aspect also, and aspect which is also of the aspect of the slope also influence the kind of plants which grow in Mount Kenya. So according to this question, two physiographic factors which influence the growth of plants on Mount Kenya. So we can actually talk about the issue of one. We can talk about we can talk about slope, which I actually mentioned there, that we identified that there is the issue of slope. Slope is one of the factors that is affecting the growth of vegetation there, which we are saying in this item of the slope. Don't forget that the question is saying, according to what we are given here, the steepness and aspect of the slope the steepness or aspect of the slope. So slope aspect is what we will need to look at. Slope aspect. Slope aspect, which is the direction of the slope faces, direction to which the slope faces is one of the factors that is influencing the vegetation in Mount Kenya, according to what we've marked in paragraph 2 there. And then we also have the issue of plants grow at different altitude. At different altitude, plants grow. So we also want to understand that altitude also affects vegetation growth in Mount Kenya. Altitude, which we are saying, which we need to understand is that what is altitude? Height above sea level. Height above sea level is also another factor that influences or that affects vegetation in Mount Kenya. And then apart from the physiographic factors we have named, apart from the factors that we have named above there, what other abiotic non-living factors influence growth of what of plants on the mountain? We are saying abiotic, we're saying non-living factors. So now, what other non-living factors affect the growth of vegetation in this place? So as we can see, when you look in vegetation growth, other abiotic factors that can affect the vegetation, that can affect the vegetation, we can look in factors such as what? Average temperature. We can talk about temperature. We can talk about temperature is one of the factors also there. We can talk about temperature. We can talk about the issue of rainfall, which we are given that there is this amount of rainfall that is falling in this. We have got rainfall, we have got temperature, we have got rainfall, and then also vegetation is affected by what? By soils, by the soils. So what we need to understand is that other factors that can affect the vegetation there is we can talk about temperature, we can talk about rainfall, we can talk about soil type. We are saying these are other factors other than physiographic factors that can affect what? That can affect vegetation in a given place or in a given terrain or on a given landscape. These factors can affect what? Can influence vegetation growth. Why do you think the northern, number 3, why do you think the north western slopes of the mountain are drier? The northwestern slopes of the mountain are drier. Why do you think the northwestern mountains of the northwestern slopes of the mountain are drier? We are given in the context that the northwestern parts of the mountain are drier. What is the concept here? Northwestern slopes, the northwestern slopes are drier, and have more and have a more savanna type of woodlands. So now, what can be the reason why they are drier? So here now, what we need to understand is that the reason why they can be drier, it can be because of what? It can be because they are in the rain shadow area. It can be because they are in rain shadow. They are in the rain shadow area, which we are saying that moist winds lose their rain on the windward side. moist winds, they uh, lose their rain, on the windward side. On the windward side, we are saying they lose their moisture. We are saying they lose their rain on the windward side, leaving north and west slope, whereby uh, leaving the northwestern slopes dry. The northwestern slopes drier. So what is happening here is that there is no rain because the moisture is lost on the windward side. So therefore, when they go there, when we look on the northwestern side or northwestern slopes, they are in the rain shadow area, which does not have rainfall because the windward side it is actually they are actually losing their moisture or their rain on the windward side, these winds that are supposed to cause rainfall on this side. And then how can you tell that the lower slopes receive more rainfall? How can you tell that the lower slopes receive more rainfall? Uh, how can you tell that the lower slopes receive more rainfall? But in terms of vegetation and rainfall, in this case, we are given that above the rain, let's check in the context here again. These plants like ericas also grow in the western, but unlike the small eraxi, they we have got also one of these ones which are tall and so forth. And the lower slopes are covered with forests. They are covered with the forest of bamboo trees. They are covered with dense forest. The lower slopes are covered uh, the lower slopes are covered with dense forest. That's how can we, that forest determines rainfall. So we can say that they are actually covered with what? They are actually covered with, there is also the presence of dense forest, which we can see there. It is given that we have got the bamboo. We are given that there is the bamboo and yellowed trees. So it is given there in the context that this actually indicates high rainfall, indicating presence of high rainfall. They actually indicate presence of high rainfall. Dense forest, the bamboo yellowed trees, they actually indicate uh, presence of high rainfall. And then why do you think the plants on the top of the mountain have tough leaves and stems? The trees that are on top of the mountain, why do they have those types of characteristics that are given there? The trees that grow on top of the mountain, they have got, uh, they do have uh, tough leaves and stems. The concept here, it has to do with the survival of the trees, tough leaves and stems on top of the mountain. So what we need to understand is that it can be because they want to withstand cold temperatures and strong winds in order uh, for them to withstand cold cold weather conditions, cold temperatures, and strong winds that also exist on top of the mountain. In order for them to withstand cold temperatures and strong winds, uh, we also need to understand that on top of the mountain, there is high drainage and less water. So the water, the groundwater for these trees to survive is not readily available, is very low. So now we need also to understand that they have those characteristics in order for them to reduce water loss, in order for them to reduce water loss in harsh and dry in harsh and dry conditions, in harsh and dry condition and dry weather conditions. So these are the conditions, or these are some of the context questions which class you can have, such that you will be tested in order for you to be able to see and relate uh, what exactly needs to be understood with regards to factors and biomes and ecosystems. So you need to be able to understand and apply theoretical questions into practical scenarios. Like you can see, trees that are on top of mountains have got tough leaves and stems. What is the reason for that? We need to know that there is the higher you go, the cooler it becomes. So therefore, cold temperatures are there, and also there is also strong winds that also exist on top of the mountains. Hence, they need to have such characteristics. So yeah, class, thank you very much for your time, and all the best in upcoming exams. And then keep on connecting, subscribing, and also sharing and liking the videos. Together we can do it again and again.